Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Layers of Healing, the podcast where we talk about all the stuff nobody talks about. And also today, we talk about celibacy. And I have Kayla with me. Maybe you can introduce yourself for a second.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm so excited for all the transformative things that are coming through your voice in every episode. I am from the States and grew up professionally dancing. I've worked in the wellness space, the fashion industry. I worked in LA for 7 years, and I now run a sort of women's faith-based community. And I help coach women into improving their lives, all rooted in the Lord.
Yeah. So today we talk about being celibate. You've been celibate your whole life. So we'll talk about what does it even mean? What is even a godly woman? What is a godly man according to the Bible? How can we live up to that standard? And also like all those shameful questions. What if he's not good? Duh, 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 duh. So we cover everything. If you want to become celibate, we'll give you a few steps on what you can include in your daily life. And yeah, I think let's just hop right in.
Let's dive in.
So me personally, in my healing journey, it was a huge thing to decide to rewait for marriage after my baptism. So, and I know that you've been Christian your whole life, you've been celibate your whole life. I'm so excited to talk about this today. So maybe picking up from the start. When did you decide to get celibate? Is it something you have pushed on from church or your decision?
Such a good question. I grew up in a household where it definitely was like a religious thing of, we don't sleep around until we're married. My parents, they were even to the point where they were like, don't even have your first kiss until at your wedding day. They were definitely like, no, 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 no. But I feel like the way I was raised, like, yes, it was extreme in some areas, but I was really taught God's design behind it. And so I know a lot of people that I had grown up with, when they were kind of taught maybe we shouldn't sleep around, or maybe it's beautiful to save this for my husband, it was really forceful. And that's something that I'm glad I was also taught understanding behind it. And so I think my parents, they just did such a good job of kind of explaining why, and even in the areas that they really fell short in that, I was really curious on my own. And so I knew I wanted to save that for my husband, because it was at that point in time when I was so young, it was quote unquote right. So I was like, oh, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I've just always, like, my personality, I'm such a rule follower. So it didn't matter what it was. If someone was like, don't open that door, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you will never catch me doing that. I just won't. If someone told me don't do something, I will never do it.
Did you have friends who were not so?
Oh yeah. Even oh my gosh, everyone I knew was like doing their thing, having their fun. Like, oh, I just was with this guy and now maybe this one. And like, I had all of that. I was definitely unique in my friend group. Always have been unique in my friend group for this reason. I never felt like it was restrictive for me, or it was not allowing me to experience things. I felt like I actually experienced so much more depth in all my relationships because I wasn't having sex with them. And so the more I learned like God's design and understanding, I fully believe that God created sex and created it for us to enjoy, created it for it to be something that really holds a marriage together. And it's a key element, and it is an essential element. And when you take anything outside of its original design and its original creation, yes, it can still be beautiful, but it always kind of leaves you dissatisfied in ways. And this isn't just sex. I view this in everything outside of God's, original design for things. You can obviously find enjoyment. You can obviously find different qualities that you're going to like, but it's always going to sort of be a dissatisfaction at the end, or you have to kind of sacrifice.
Have you ever felt shame about it? Like, did people like bully you, or you felt shame and you're like, oh, maybe I should try because everybody's talking about it?
I have felt shame, not because of people's opinions, I think. I would say when you are kind of making this choice, you have to be confident in it. And I was always so grounded in that, and I wasn't going to change my mind. And I've been that way in so many areas of my life where I will abstain from things, and there's no convincing me otherwise. And I think it's easy to feel shame or already doubting you, then that's when all the, oh my gosh, I am weird. Maybe I am missing out. Maybe I should, yeah, why is this
That
such
was
a
me.
big deal?
That was me. I had my first time when I was 18, and I felt like I'm late. Oh my god, everybody, and I'm so late. It ended up being at a party where I lost my virginity, and it was the worst thing ever because it was so shy. But I always felt that way, but I never thought about being celibate because I was not in the religious realm at all. When you date,
Yes.
or dated,
Yes.
how was it? Because a lot of people in our generation, they are like, I think if I meet a random, not from church, like a random guy, and I'm just like, no, I wait. Do you love me that much that you wait you're in me? He'll probably be like, nope, there's the door, and I'm going through that. So
Yeah, it's so funny. I get asked this question so much, and I love this question because honestly, I have never once had a guy not be okay waiting.
really,
And I have never ever had them pressure me. They've pressured me in ways where it felt like, this is too far for me. Like this line is being crossed that I want to uphold, even though we're not physically having sex. Like I felt like that line was pushed in times, but I've never ever been pushed to do that. And I will say though, I think it's one, the guys that I've even allowed or entertained any sort of romantic connection with. I really try to take that to the Lord first, and I look at a lot of characteristics. And so most of the guys that wouldn't wait aren't even ones that would even try to date me. And then the ones that, they really seem like they would never wait. And that was one of my ex. He was that way. And I never thought he would be okay with waiting. I think there is a big fear of, well, what they're going to run. They're going to run for the hills. And the wrong ones will. The right ones find it the most attractive thing. I have so many men that have come up to me, so many male friends that, whether they know God or not, completely separate, completely secular men and women that are so in awe and have so much respect for that self-control and for having that boundary for myself. And they don't view it as at all as a turnoff. They're very interested and they almost commend it and wish that that was them.
curious, would you date someone, let's say he was not Christian, he just converted to Christianity, but he had like, because I know some guys who bragged about, "Oh, I had 100 women in my bed," but then now he got baptized. He's Christian, converted, and you fall in love with him. Would you, maybe not love, but you fancy him?
Yeah.
Would you date him?
Absolutely. I mean, the guys that I have dated, they had their fun. It's not like they hadn't before. And for me, I care so much more about the heart posture now and moving forward. And we've all, I mean, yes, I've upheld that area in my life, but I've fallen short in so many others. And so I think anytime we kind of hold on to that past version, if we aren't willing to surrender that to the Lord, that's so different. But if they're already in a place where, even if they're new, but they have a heart for God and they're running after God and they are doing what they can to try to
Like I said, I'm rewaiting.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, where's the line? Am I cuddling? Like I also talked to friends of mine from church about this already. Like, where's the line? Like I know we're not supposed to live together until you're married, so you won't sleep together in the same bed, obviously. But it's like cuddling, or maybe like doing everything else except the
that.
intercourse thing.
Yeah.
Also like self pleasure. Like where is the
What is it?
line?
Yeah.
It's like how much can I go? Because obviously I know what's following and I know the feelings behind everything, and it's just hard, like a lot of temptation.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, I love that you brought enjoy that feeling. It's not like, oh, well, I'm just like, no, I've only ever held hands with a guy, and so I have no idea what it is. No, like, of course, I have moments where I'm like, yeah, I would love that, but I've already set that boundary. I've pre-decided this is something I will not compromise on. The line, and this is my personal opinion because definitely take it back to the Word of God, definitely take it back to the Bible. But this is something I really struggled with because growing up in the type of household I did and growing up so Christian, I was basically taught you have sex and you kind of hold hands and you kiss and that's it. I didn't even know there was this in between. For me, I mean, now it looks so different than what it did in previous relationships or previous seasons in my life because I just didn't know. For me, the boundary line is I will not have sex, but I will not do whatever feels like lust. And so that changes on the daily, and that changes based on me and based on my partner. And so for me and my partner, one day, maybe we're making out and it's innocent and there isn't that lust there, that's fine. Maybe the next day I put my hand on his leg and that is creating a feeling that's too far. Then okay, we pull back. And so I think when you're searching for this is the line is going to look different every day based on what you're feeling and based on what he's feeling. And so anything that tempts you to do more, I think is too far. So that's where my line is for me. And it could look so different based on the day. And you have to have respect for that person and where their line is at.
How do you test the guys? Because when you're starting to date, everyone knows that only because you go to church, it doesn't mean that you're Christian and that you respect women or whatever. And like, how do you test those guys when you're now dating? Because dating is now so different. Also, for me personally, I have a question because it will be like the next guy I'm dating, it's for marriage.
Yeah.
I'm used to date like, oh yeah, let's hang out 2 times and then we get like physical.
See where it goes. Yeah.
And then we'll have fun and they'll be like, oh, maybe I have you for a year or 2 or like, I don't know, maybe for my life. But now it's so different. Dating is so different. Like, how do you test those guys if it's like dateable material?
Oh, it's changed so much over the years. But for me, a big prayer that I think helps me weed out so many men is I always pray, Lord, don't even let anyone pursue me that's not my husband. And I'm so big on the man pursuing me and setting that leadership role from the start. And so there have been men where I'm like, oh, maybe. But they're not pursuing me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to chase. I'm so big into emotional maturity, security in themselves. An insecure man, I will not date. It doesn't matter. They have to know their identity in Christ and they have to love people. Like those are the 3 things. And they sound simple, but if you really look at that to the core, when someone is so sure of their identity in the Lord and they radiate that confidence, they aren't controlling, they aren't emotionally manipulative, they don't play mind games, they don't leave you questioning, they give you so much security, so much reassurance. Just even in that one quality comes so many fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
And the emotional maturity, I need to know they've worked through their traumas. I need to know they've gone to therapy or that they have really done the work to try to be in that place where they're not bringing in old patterns, old habits, old things that they haven't surrendered yet to the Lord, because we're going to have new trials and new tribulations together. And I think to date a man like that requires me to also do that. And so I think my dating criteria has changed the more I've worked on myself and surrendered things to the Lord and put in so much work to heal from things. And I'm like, oh, now I need this in my partner.
I love that you brought up the identity because I really wanted to talk about this too. And because you're doing the Bible study on godly women.
Yes.
You are a godly woman.
Oh, you as well?
Maybe talk a little bit about what is a godly woman.
She's entrepreneurial. She is capable of doing so many things. She's an incredible wife. She's an incredible leader of the family. She's a provider. She's a caretaker. She's a nurturer. She's an encourager. She is self-aware. She's diligent. She's only taking the best resources for herself and her family.
If people understand that the wisdom is in women and men are just protecting that wisdom, I heard that. I don't know who I talked to, but he was just like, yeah. So I listened to my wife because the Bible says the wisdom lays with the women. And if people get that I'm the man who's just protecting that wisdom and I should listen to my wife, then the world would be such a better place. I'm just like, yeah. Because in the Bible, it also says like she goes up in the morning to pray and prepares everything. What does a man bring? What kind of qualities?
He is a leader, not in a way where he's controlling and where he's pulling you along, but where you actually want to walk beside and you are guided by him. And he is leading you with washing you with the word every day. It talks about that in Ephesians. And so already we're seeing, okay, the man is renewing us with God's truth daily. And they are presenting us as blameless, as spotless. And so is the man making you feel like you are champion, you are cheered on? Is he presenting you in a way that honors you and honors that you are God's daughter first and foremost? And he's a provider. He's absolutely a provider and has a hardworking mindset and has a diligent mindset. And the biggest thing for men is that it is so much of sacrifice and compromise. And you see this when the Bible really speaks about how the husbands are to love their wives as Jesus loved the church, meaning God's people. Yes, Jesus died on the cross, and that was a huge thing. And I think it's easy for a lot of men to be like, oh, I'd die for you. But would they do everything else Jesus did? Because Jesus sacrificed his alone time. He sacrificed eating a lot of the times. He sacrificed his capacity when he had crowds constantly following him. He did not react. He was so intentional and he didn't become impatient when his people needed him. And so you really see how sacrificial Jesus's love for his people was. Absolutely on the cross. That was the greatest act of love of all time. But I think it's important for the men to really look at every step along the way that he had sacrificed for his people every day.
Yeah. Coming back to being celibate, what if people are out there and they're like, I really want to do it, but I feel shame about it? What would you tell them? Because when you're also in old friend groups and they're just like, oh, you prude, you're so boring. Nobody will ever date you. Now you have just one filter more. And also what my brain was like, oh, I'll never find. Now, it was hard finding someone when I didn't have all those standards. I was just like, now it would just be harder
Yeah.
to find someone who's like willing to wait and who's also a God's man, what you described, like a provider.
Yeah.
So for me, it was hard to make that decision. And when now a person is listening or watching, what would you tell them if they're like, oh, I feel shame about it. I really want to draw closer to God and be with God and honoring my body, because that's also what it is for me. Because whenever I had one night stands, I just felt empty. And I was like, whoa. And I felt this soul tie. So what people always say when you sleep with someone is like spiritual tie. And I felt their energy. And if you're having one night stands, like this just left me empty, and I felt so shameful about it that I wanted to do this, like rewaiting. At the same time, I was like, what are people saying? And can I really, like, what would you tell them?
Is it even possible? I think if you're making a decision that's based on fear, then that is going to be really hard to walk out confidently. And so it has to be a decision made on faith, and it has to be a decision knowing God is going to provide this, and he will provide no matter what in the areas that he's promised to. And if he sees his children wanting to honor his will, it will be hard to walk that out. And you are going to have friends that are going to say whatever. And that you want are going to change. And I can confirm this because I've seen this my whole life. And I think when it comes to being okay making that decision, if you're confused or you're unsure, maybe you've never heard that this is even possible as well, just research. Like, do your research, because I think a lot of people jump into making decisions before they understand what's behind it. And God doesn't want you to just make a decision because he said this is what you should do. He wants you to actually know why. And so I would really say just, read a lot of the passages, listen to sermons on it, chat GBT, like give me a deep dive into how would this help me in my life? And you can even put in like your personal things. This has been my past history. Like, where do you think this would be good for me? I think having an understanding is always so beneficial when it comes to the decisions you're making, especially when it comes to it's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect you romantically. It's going to affect the rest of your life. You want to hold that with a lot of weight and intention.
Yeah. I think also not putting so much pressure on me. For me, it's normal to feel the lust and also like self-pleasure. It was normal for me. That was my normal life. So I also noticed I made the decision, but at the same time, like my body cannot change in 24 hours. So it's just like also relearning to not listen to your flesh or to your lust. And I don't know how it was for you with the lust feeling, because for me it's just, and I know a lot of friends of mine had the same thing when the lust comes in, you're like, I can't think.
Yeah.
And it's so hard.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
But it always says like you're always forgiven when you sin. But I think also not pressuring yourself to do it from 0 to 100 and just being more conscious in the beginning.
Yeah, I think being aware and just giving yourself grace. There'll be times, like especially when you have your 4 phases in a month and your hormones are just heightened at certain times, when, thoughts do pop into your head, it's easy to let them stay. And I think something that's really helped me is when I am like, ooh, I'm feeling a certain way. It's not fun in the moment, but I really am like, Lord, remove any temptation, remove whatever, just get it out of my head. Even though I'm like, oh, I want to even like think about it, I really have to just surrender that and bring him into that. And it can feel weird bringing God into that area in your life, but it creates such connection where the enemy has created such division. He doesn't look at us with this shame and this disgust or, oh, how like you're unworthy, anything like that. Like he covers us. And so if his identity of us doesn't change, don't let that change your identity of yourself. And so if there are those slip ups, just view it as, oh, this is one step closer that I'm getting to where the Lord wants me to go. And it's not a setback. It's a setup for God's glory, and to walk in that instead of, oh, I messed up again.
I think that's not only in celibacy, that's also in other parts and areas of your faith journey. Just like, oh, sorry, God, I forgot I'm not doing this anymore. How do you communicate it? Let's say I meet someone, I don't know, maybe he's from church, maybe not. How do you communicate?
So I'm saving myself until marriage. And then from there, however the conversation goes.
What was maybe the worst answer you ever get on that?
I would say the worst answers I've gotten have actually been from the women in my life.
Oh, wow.
Which is so interesting. And they didn't know God, they didn't love God, but her jaw just completely dropped. And she was like, aren't you going to be a huge disappointment to your husband? And da da da, and just went on and on and on. And well, have you done this? Have you done that? And just interrogated with questions. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of projection. That's a lot of, and you have to see that. Like, if people respond in a harsh way or in a way that makes you feel bad or embarrassed, that has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing to do with you and your decision. So that was probably the worst. And I think women can be the ones that don't really love God. That can be a hard pill for them to swallow because they aren't living that out. And they see how much respect men have for me that I live that out.
Yeah.
And so I think it can be really difficult. But the best response I ever got, I would say there's two. One was really encouraging to me, and that was a fellow brother in Christ. And he was asking me kind of how to do this. And moving forward in his relationships, he was curious, like, what do I do? And he told me something that really stuck with me. Because if you do start stepping into this journey, you're going to hear this a lot. Is your husband going to be disappointed? What if they're bad in bed? All these things.
What if his thing is not satisfiable? It's just, what if it's like not what I'm used to ish?
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't like his thing? What if he's bad in bed and then I'm married to him?
People being like, well, you wouldn't know if he's bad because you've never done it. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, whatever argument you want. And I think when it comes down to it, don't even worry about it, because for one, we have to look at again, this was created by God, the Father, to hold you together in a marriage. He is not going to want his daughter or his son to be disappointed. And he is going to bless that because it is his original design and creation. And so any of those questions are, oh, what if they're bad and you don't even know? What if he's not as good as the other guys that I've been with? All of these things, I promise you it's going to be way better than you ever expected and you ever dreamed of. And even if maybe it's bumpy at first, because that can happen. Like, I've seen that in couples, and know that, like, it's just literally pray about it, communicate it, talk about it. Like, I'm sure when you had your first kiss, it wasn't the most amazing thing. Maybe it was, but I'm sure you've kissed people that it wasn't as great as you were expecting. And then it gets better. And so again, that's like, oh, I'm coming from a place of fear instead of faith. And God is absolutely going to want it to be so enjoyable and beautiful for both people involved.
Yeah, and you support women in their faith journey. Yeah, so I'd really love for you to talk about this too, because I know how hard it is when you're going through that alone, and just having a community of also godly women who are like, say, I honor my body and I want to wait. I want to step into my faith. I want to be this godly woman we talked about earlier. So tell me a little bit about this. Like, how can I join? Like, I'm already joined, but how can people join? And what it is about what you're doing?
Oh, I love it. You've been such an amazing member in it. Yes, so I have a community and it's called Bible Babes, and it's for women that love Jesus, are so after his heart, but also like that Proverbs 31 woman, and that have a lot of other interests, that maybe they are interested in the wellness industry, maybe they're entrepreneurs, maybe they're talking about dating, maybe they're in marriages, and they're trying to figure out how to even feed their kids and what nutrition looks like in all of these areas. And so, sort of, if you look at it in the sense of it's kind of a mastermind, but rooted in the Bible, that's what this community is for women. And so, it's a space where you can not only grow in your faith, but you can grow with like minded women who are really high achieving, growth mindset daughters of God that want to exceed in their life, want to exceed financially, want to exceed in their careers, want to exceed as wives, want to exceed as girlfriends, want to exceed in their styling, in their fashion, in their skincare, that it fully encompasses all of those things, but it's actually rooted in the Bible.
Yes,
Yeah.
having a community, I think that's very helpful to have people who go the same way. So if I would be a beginner, can I also join, or is it just for people who are already like the Proverbs 31 women?
No, oh my goodness. It doesn't matter if you've known God your whole life, if you are just now hearing his name, because when you do life with God, you never stop growing. So it doesn't matter where you're at on that spectrum or whatever you feel like you're at. There's always more to learn. There's always more room to grow. And so this is basically just a safe space for any woman to come in and to feel supported, to not feel judged, to feel encouraged, to have godly advice, and to have wise counsel. That's essentially what this community is wise counsel for people truly seeking improvement in their life and knowing that they have a safe space and having that accountability with one another to grow in.
So then now, okay, let's say we decided we want to be celibate. We want to have this in our healing journey, because honoring ourselves, honoring our bodies does amazing things to your mental health too. Like, you have some self-respect for yourself. What would be the first steps you would take? I mean, you've been celibate your whole life.
No, but I think that's such a good question, because yes, I have, but I mean, my closest friends, I've seen the whole journey. I've walked with so many men and women that have decided to be celibate again and decided to rewait, and maybe they have slipped up, but they still want that. I would say the first steps are remove anything that is going to cause lust. And if that is what's on your phone, if that's the accounts you follow, if that's certain browsers and tabs, if it's certain words even, get to know yourself. And I think that's what I would give advice for any area that you want to change. If you want to cut out caffeine, then okay, let's remove the temptations for caffeine and let's start finding replacements. And so it's important to, yes, remove the areas of temptation, but replace it. Replace it with different things. And so if it is certain music, replace it with music that you enjoy even more. If it's certain accounts, unfollow and refollow a whole bunch of new things for your brain to get excited that there's something new, and not, ooh, I'm missing out and I wish that was appearing.
So also, what about dating apps? Would you be like, in my bio, I'm celibate?
Like, I let this sort of naturally come up in conversation when I'm dating. And I think with the dating apps and everything, I mean, for me, first and foremost, they have to love God and they have to be pursuing Him. And so that's like step one and then everything else that follows. I think you can tell by someone's character when you start talking, and you can tell their intention. And I think if there is that feeling of, okay, are they just wanting to get to know me and have conversation, or are they wanting to get to know me physically as well? You can kind of pick up on those cues. And especially if you're newer to it, then you're very sensitive to, oh, was that kind of my bed? Is that this? Was that that? Like, what did that mean? And even asking, even communicating, like, hey, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for today, Kayla. Thank you for being so open about it, because that's like it's a very personal topic.
It is a personal
I
topic.
loved it. I love talking about it. I will talk to you about this more. So thank you so much for your time. And to you guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day. And yeah, bye.
Bye. Thank you.